Now, do I need a sewing machine? Mostly, this is what usually get people frightened. Oh, will I be able to use it? Yes, you will. You need a sewing machine. Mostly we need it, and most times we don't need it. Most of the stitching on shoe uppers is serving one or some of the following purpose: attaching the lining to the upper materials. You understand this even as we continue in the class. Attaching one panel to the other, attaching a decorative trimming on embellishment, adding strength to certain areas. Those are what the machine does. And it doesn't mean that, we cannot do without machine. There's some work you can still do without machine. You can get away with not using a sewing machine if you plan to make a simple pair of sandals or slide. We often use a thick online leather. So sometimes we don't just line it. All we do is just cut the thick leather and we use our rivet. I'm sure by the time we go to introducing tools and materials, we know what rivet are, we know what buckle are. So without using a sewing machine. So it's possible for you to actually work without a sewing machine. And then another question is, so what sewing machine do I need to make shoes? Well, most domestic sewing machines will have no issue stitching through the thicker materials or leather required for making shoe uppers. So you do not need a shoe leather specific sewing machine. I only recommend that you choose a machine that can stitch through thick denim, and upholstery fabric, as normally this machine have a bit more power to get through thicker materials. Even the normal, the general butterfly and the singer machines that we use generally for sewing clothes sews leather, which is what I use and I still use till now. Yes, I'm sure now you understand that you do not need a heavy duty machine, but just a sewing machine with a heavy body or metal casing, which will make it actually, they are always stronger. There are some of these our domestic machines that are made of plastic. I mean, the body is majorly plastic and not metal casing like you have in butterfly, you have in singer. So anyone that has that kind of a body will successfully sew perfectly well. All you need to do is, if you already own a sewing machine, test out its capacity. Just make sure that you take scraps of materials, just put them together and let your machine stitch it. If it's not stitching properly, you can change the needle. Probably when sewing clothes you are using like 18 or 16, you can decide to change it to 22 or 23 for your leather. So it's just to change the needle and you'll find it working perfectly. Like mine, I still use size 16, size 18 to stitch leather. Yes. So those are the things that we are going to actually be learning as we proceed. So I want us to know that basically today I want us to go through all of this introduction. It's basically introduction. Please go through it. Go through it all over and all over again. And I trust God that God will guide us. And in our next class, I'm going to be going majorly into how to make footwear. So thank you for being part of today's class. You can ask your questions. Please feel free to ask your question. So you don't have any reason to be afraid. I found out that even presently, after creating your pattern, there are some people that will even stitch. They stitch for you and I think they receive 100 or 200 naira just to sew for you. So I think that is even a little bit worthwhile if that is one of your fear. But I don't think it's actually a fear, because if you work at it, you will definitely be able to get your sewing machine in no time if you are actually into it really. I'm telling you, all other tools that I bought, I got the money from the people from my customer. Yes, from the profit I make. I tell you the truth. My shoe last, my filing machine, I got it from an order. I got it from an order from somebody when I nearly started. So please don't get yourself boxed up and begin to underestimate what God can do through whatever you get yourself involved in. Because for me, this has worked for me. It wasn't as if I piled up all the material or all the tools, but God surprised me. So, and I believe that grace is still available for as many that will tap into it. So send your questions in and let me see if you still have more questions that you want to ask me, because majorly I always try to work on, okay, what are the major questions that is in the heart of people. I might not have answered your own questions, so please feel free to ask, and thank you very much. We'll see you in our next class. Yes, hello, you're welcome to today's class, and I still remain your tutor, Odurole Mojibola. So in today's class, I'm going to be explaining to us and showing us different kinds of shoemaking tools and materials. Now, this might not actually be all of them, but we are going to look into the major ones that we basically need for shoemaking. Now, one material that I find out that we cannot do without is our leather. Now, it does not mean that we cannot use fabric in shoemaking. We also make use of fabrics. Fabrics such as our local Ankara fabrics, the African fabrics. We use denims such as jeans, chinos. So we have majorly we can actually use any kind of fabric, even satin. We use satin for making footwear. So it's not just leather, and our leather is even in different from. We have the synthetic leather, which are also what we call the polyurethane leather, which is the PU leather. You have also the bonded leather, is also a synthetic leather. Now, the real leather is majorly our hides. It's majorly what we call the genuine skin. It's not as if there has been an alteration in one form or the other. So, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to leather, you hear people say lining. Some people will say, oh, it's lining, it's not leather. So when you hear lining in the school of shoemaking, so to say, they are majorly referring to synthetic leather, as in like the PU leather, the bonded leather. That's what they are referring to. And when they say, oh, it's leather, they are just trying to tell you it's a genuine leather. I mean, it's hides and skin. Now let's go to another tool, which is the rivet. Now you can see what the rivet look like. What we do with rivet is we use it to hold two attachments, two things together, two leather, two pattern together. No, now I cannot stitch, or probably I don't have a sewing machine yet. Okay, so what do I do since I don't have a stitching machine yet? All you need to do is just to go ahead and use your rivet to hold those places together. I will try as much as possible to see how I can show us some of those things as we proceed in the class. So the rivet just helps us to hold things together. You can use it to hold buckle. Like you can see, the buckle is a fastener. Fastener is something that we use to hold also straps together. So you can see what the buckle look like. So we now have the utility knife. The utility knife, it can be used to cut pattern. You can use it to cut cardboard, a tape. Even you can use it to cut leather. Some beginners use it, to skive the leather when they don't have a skiving knife. Skiving is just, when you see that a leather is bulky and you are trying to reduce the bulk using a knife. So that's what skiving is majorly all about. You will learn this as we actually continue. There are a lot of things to learn in shoemaking actually. So the utility knife is majorly for cutting, as you can see what it looks like. Of course, they are in different forms and in different shades. Some come with an extra blade. When one is blunt, you just change it and replace it. We also have our metal roll. Yes, we have a metal roll. Majorly what we do is we use it to measure, the length and then so on like that. Now you can see the ever foam. The ever foam is majorly, they call it EVA foam. You understand? So the EVA, I don't want to bore us with that chemical name, but let's just say it as EVA. That's the general name. This is called EVA foam, but in Nigeria they call it Mako. You hear Mako 1. I want to buy Mako, say Mako 1 or Mako 2. Do you want foreign Mako or Nigerian Mako? Because I found out that the foreign Mako does not always have potholes. In Nigeria, some of the Nigerian Mako, the local Mako here, you find out that they are having a lot of potholes. And I'm sure you know what I mean by potholes. You will be seeing holes inside it here and there. So majorly you find people preferring to buy the foreign Mako. So Mako is actually one of the important things that we use in shoemaking. We use it to cushion our feet. That's what we use as our footbed, where your foot is always stepping on. Sometimes you find that it's foamy. That is what is inside it. So let's quickly move to our measuring tape. You know what tape is meant for actually. We use it to measure the length as well. So we'll be using our measuring tape too. We have the cutting mat or board. The cutting mat. Yes, I was talking about the cutting board. Majorly when you use knife to cut through that cutting board, it doesn't cut through it. It refills itself. So that's one advantage of the cutting board. If you don't want to have plenty mark on your working table, so each time you want to cut using a utility knife, you just make use of the mat or at any point in time you want to cut, you will just make use of it. Now let's go to our contact cement adhesive. Now in Nigeria, one of the most common Evo stick is actually a brand name of a particular contact adhesive gum that we use. Evo-stick is a name of a brand. So generally we call it Evo-stick. So it's one gum that we use in shoemaking majorly. It's an all-purpose gum. So in Nigeria, you see brands such as Top Bond, you see this 99, you see all these brands in Nigeria. There are some other brands too that are here in Nigeria. We have Energy, we have OC High. So all of them are different, and each of them does an effective job. That's just what I can say. Like Top Bond, I use Top Bond, I use Energy gum. I've used this 99, the one that has totally blue and orange cover. I've used that before. So all of them does an effective work. We use them to bond, to sew, and every other thing. And scissors is majorly for cutting. We all know what we use scissors for. I always suggest we buy 2 pairs of scissors, so that one will be for cutting leather majorly, and you'll be using the other one to cut other things like your Marco, which is also known as your EVA foam, your cardboard, or whatever thing you want to cut. Now we are going to insole cardboard. As you can see, it's a kind of cardboard that we use to reinforce our Marco. We put it under our Marco and attach it together so that our insole will have enough, it will have enough strength to sustain the body before we put the outer sole. All of this we understand as we proceed in a class. This is what we call pincer. You can see it. Majorly we use it for lacing. You can use it to pull when you want to lace and place properly. Instead of using your hand, you can use it. And if you don't have that, you can use plier, you can use your hand. Just start with what you have. That is all I am saying. You can say hammer. Hammer is just used to drive. You use it to actually drive in something, like you want to bond two leather together properly. You use hammer after applying your gum and then placing them on themselves. You can use hammer just to drive them, in, and to cause them to bond properly. We also make use of this spacing punch. This spacing punch is something you can use actually to stitch. It will punch it for you. All you need to do is just use your awl. You can even use the normal hand sewing machine to actually stitch. If you want to create a decoration, or you want to stitch your insole, you will just use this particular spacing punch tool. All these things, you don't have to buy all of them at a time. You don't even need them at the beginning. So you just need one or two things, and you find out that all other things, because I find out that many times you want to buy tools, you buy what you don't need. At the end of the day, they will just be there and you'll be tying your money down there. So majorly, as we start the class, I'll be showing us what you basically need. But this is just to expose us to those things that are actually available for us to use. Now, the second one is an overchain punch. So you see that sometimes when you wear your slippers, they create an opening inside the insole. Insole is where your foot is, where they slot in the pattern. So this is the kind of punch they use to create that opening. You can also use your utility knife. So even if you don't have this, you can use your utility knife. Yes, the last but not the least set of tools I'm going to be showing us is our shoe lace. As you can see, our shoe lace come in different forms and in different shapes. In short, we have it in different shapes. You have the square shape, you have the pointed shape, you have the oblong shape. We have them in so many shapes, and then they come as a wooden lace, they come as a plastic lace as well. So you majorly they serve as the mold that we use for lacing. So when you tell me to make a shoe for you, or a sandal or slide for you, for example, you might not be there. So I'm going to be using the lace that has your size on it. I'm just going to use it to make your footwear. So that's what we majorly use in place of the leg of the person that we are creating for. It comes in different sizes, it comes in different shapes, it comes in different forms. Now to the wraps. The shoemaking wrap serves like sandpaper. I don't know if some of us have seen sandpaper before. Now you can use sandpaper alternatively for this. So if you don't have a wraps is just to file. It's just like a grinding tool. It's a grinding tool used to finish edges. You use to finish some surfaces so that it will be easy for you to, bond them together. But in the absence of this, you can use a sandpaper. So majorly that is what I'm going to be. I don't want to bore us with the tool. So After this particular slide, I'm going to be sending the process step by step of how shoes are made. I'm going to be starting with a beautiful, beautiful glittering slide. Very simple, cute, and you don't even need to sew. So that's what we are going to be starting with after this particular video. So just relax and let's move on.